North Korea has announced it is to restart all its nuclear facilities. They include the plant at Yongbyon, where work was shut down 6 years ago under a disarmament deal. That decision to reopen it is North Korea's latest move in a high-stakes diplomatic tussle with the West. The head of the UN has said the crisis has already gone too far. Florence Louis reports.
The Yongbyon plant was shut nearly 6 years ago as part of an international aid deal. But North Korea's Department for Atomic Energy says it will now be reopened without delay. It's part of the country's identity as a nuclear state, a profile cemented at Monday's Supreme People's Assembly meeting. The announcement has been condemned by South Korea.
If the report is true, it is really regrettable. North Korea should keep their promise and agreements, and they should keep to denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Our government will closely monitor the situation.
China, North Korea's closest ally, has urged a return to dialogue.
The situation on the peninsula is complex and sensitive. We call on all sides to be calm and exercise restraint and return as soon as possible to the path of talks as a way to resolve the issue.
North Korea pulled out of six-party nuclear disarmament talks in 2008. It carried out a third nuclear test in February, and since then has made a series of threats, partly in response to tighter UN sanctions imposed after the test, as well as to military exercises by the US and South Korea. This latest development on the Korean peninsula is seen by some as a way to force the US and South Korea to negotiate with the North, as well as a tactic to boost Kim Jong-un's credentials. He inherited power from his father, but still needs to consolidate power.
It's very important for Kim Jong-un to have North Korea seen as a nuclear state coming to the talks, because he's been telling his people that he made the country a nuclear power.
Nuclear experts say it would take at least 6 months for North Korea to rebuild the cooling tower it dismantled in 2007. And it may be several months before operations at the plant can resume. It's not an immediate threat, but it would put North Korea one step closer to developing more nuclear weapons. Florence Louis, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
Well, the complex at Yongbyon is North Korea's major nuclear facility. First operational in 1986, facilities at the plant have been shut down and restarted before. In September 2010, work began there on a light water reactor. North Korea said it was an experiment to generate electricity. Just nearby is the plutonium reactor that was shut down in 2007 and which is now about to start again. US security analysts who visited Yongbyon in November 2010 found 2,000 centrifuges installed in a uranium enrichment plant. Aidan Foster-Carter is a career specialist at Leeds University.
This particular day's news out of North Korea is completely meaningless. Why? Because the Yongbyon site has basically done its dirty work. This was, of course, where they began their nuclear program, where they produced the plutonium that certainly powered their first two nuclear tests, 2006, 2009. But it's become somewhat decrepit. And in happier times, when talks, the six-party nuclear talks that were mentioned were going better, they actually blew up the cooling tower as a symbol of the fact that they weren't going to do anything there anymore. So at the very least they would have to rebuild that. And the other thing, just to add, is that they've got a separate program which we should worry about much more, highly enriched uranium. Some of that's on the same site, but they weren't talking about that today. That's never been inspected. So this is a gesture, basically. This one doesn't matter. We seem to miss the more subtle stuff. At the weekend, no one is getting headlines about this. There were two very important political meetings in North Korea, their party and then the parliament, which matters rather less. It's a rubber stamp. But they they appointed a reformer, Park Pong-ju, as premier, and they talked a lot about the economy, about wanting foreign investment, even about wanting special economic zones, which presumably have foreign firms. Now, you may say they're going about it in a funny way. They're under UN sanctions because of the nuclear stuff, so who's going to go and invest? But nonetheless, there is a twin-track policy going on. They want to be accepted as a nuclear power, but also there are economic changes, and we should try and keep the whole picture in the frame and, if possible, respond on the economic front. But they do make it hard for us.